Siege tactics of ancient warfare. Alright guys, buckle up for a crash course in conquering castles. Our journey today delves deeply into the intriguing, cruel and frequently cunning realm of siege warfare in Antiquity. We will examine the complex plans, the lethal equipment, and the unwavering resolve used to break these powerful defences. Imagine a massive citadel that is atop a hill and has formidable walls that appear to be an unbreakable barrier. Breaching these defences wasn't an easy task for the assailants. It was an intellectual challenge, a war of wills, and an exhausting war of attrition. Surrounding the beast, investment and encirclement. For any besieger, getting a strong grasp was the priority. In contrast to a swift raid, sieges were races, not sprints. The opposing city would be surrounded by a wall that armies would painstakingly build, obstructing any chance of escape or reinforcement. Imagine it as a medieval kind of trench warfare, where the objective is to gradually drain the besieged of their life, ramming and smashing, breaking down barriers. Attackers relied heavily on battering rams to get past the strong fortifications of ancient towns. Essentially, these intimidating siege engines were enormous logs, frequently built from dense woods like oak or pine. The business end of the ram was usually reinforced with metal, such as iron or bronze, to boost its destructive power. This resulted in a battering head that could seriously harm wooden gates and stone walls. A battering ram needed both labour and raw force to operate. The ram was propelled forward and backward by groups of warriors, sometimes amounting to hundreds, who used ropes or harnesses fastened to the wood. The battering head would strike the target with every swing, producing a loud thud and progressively wearing down the defences. The masonry may eventually become weakened by the constant pounding, developing cracks and fractures. When it comes to wooden gates, the battering ram may split and pierce the wood, opening a gap that would be easy for intruders to take advantage of. Several factors affected the battering ram's effectiveness. An important factor was the ram's size and weight. With each swing, a bigger, heavier ram would deal more damage because of its increased power. Furthermore, the construction's quality mattered. A well-constructed ram could bear the strains of several hits because of its strong frame and safe metal reinforcing. Battering rams were used for purposes beyond time in history. Similar strategies for breaking through fortifications have been used by many civilizations throughout history. For example, the Chinese military used enormous battering rams with ironclad heads during the Song dynasty, 960–1279 AD, to breach their enemies' fortified city walls. Starve them out, a waiting game. The besieger's best weapon was typically time. Commanders intended to starve people into submission by encircling the city and blocking supplies from getting to the people within. Despite its apparent simplicity, this strategy may take weeks, months, or even years, depending on the resources of the besiegers and the city's stores. A well-known instance is the German army's roughly 900-day attempt to starve the city of Leningrad into surrender during the siege of Leningrad in World War II. 800,000 people in the city perished during the 900-day siege of Leningrad, which took place between September 1941 and January 1944, mostly from hunger and the cold. In addition, the city's inhabitants had to endure both brutally tight Soviet government rule and hostile fire. Fire and fury, catapults and flaming arrows. In siege warfare, catapults changed the game by giving attackers access to long-range weaponry. Torsion or twisted ropes or springs can be used to power enormous slingshots in place of muscles. These devices were capable of firing a deadly armament of projectiles over the city walls, dousing the defenders in devastation. Heavily stoned payloads were the most typical. These projectiles could be launched by catapults with great force, seriously wounding soldiers manning the battlements and maybe destroying fortresses. Imagine the mayhem and destruction if a grenade of stones fell from the sky, smashing everybody who was caught in the open. Launching burning arrows coated in pitch or other combustible materials was another strategy. These missiles can ignite structures, causing infernos that disseminate fear and disturb defense positions. Imagine whole blocks of the city completely engulfed in flames, making it difficult to move and requiring defenders to rush to put out the fires. These long-range strikes have a variety of effects. They mostly cause losses to the defenders, which reduced their numbers and made it more difficult to man the walls. Flaming arrows might also cause extensive damage to the city's supplies and essential buildings. The psychological goal of these attacks was perhaps their most significant function. Disease despair. Some armies employed the horrifying strategy of firing sick animal corpses or things tainted with fatal diseases from catapults. In addition to causing bodily harm, the plan was to disperse illness across the beleaguered city to undermine its defenses from the inside out. This strategy, albeit morally dubious, emphasizes the savagery of siege warfare and the attacker's desperation to break through implacable walls. These long-range strikes have a variety of effects. They mostly caused losses to the defenders, which reduced their numbers and made it more difficult to man the walls. Flaming arrows might also cause extensive damage to the city's supplies and essential buildings. The psychological goal of these attacks was perhaps their most significant function. Digging tunnels, the art of sappers. Some armies use sappers or specialized soldiers proficient in tunnel construction as a more covert tactic. These tunnels, which are frequently strengthened with wood to prevent collapse, could extend straight beneath city walls, allowing attackers to lay explosives or just come out of hiding to cause mayhem and surprise attacks. The Viet Cong's deployment of tunnel networks during the Vietnam War indicates the tactic's continued significance. Defending the walls. Creativity and desperation. Don't assume that the defense did nothing. Cities used a variety of defense strategies. Heavy stones were thrown down on siege towers to crush anyone trying to scale the walls. Boiling oil rained down onto assailants, and archers rained arrows from the battlements. This frantic battle for survival frequently translated into vicious close-quarters fighting, where the victor was determined by resourcefulness and sheer desire to live. Scaling the walls, ladders, siege towers, and daring maneuvers. Of course, a more direct assault was a part of several sieges. Soldiers would try to use ladders to scale the walls or construct enormous siege towers, which were effectively mobile wooden castles that allowed them to go to the battlements and fight the defenders hand in hand. Consider it a desperate attempt to overrun the opposition on their own ground, a vertical invasion. This desperate method of breaching strong defenses is reminiscent of the storming of the beaches in Normandy during World War II. Innovation and adaptation, a constant arms race. There was an ongoing armaments competition in siege warfare. As attackers created new instruments and strategies, defenses came up with creative ways to counter them. Moats were excavated farther, fortifications were constructed thicker and higher, and new defensive weapons were created. Throughout history, the ongoing battle between attack and defense has propelled developments in siege technology. Engineering marvels, the legacy of siege warfare. Even with its cruelty, siege warfare yielded some amazing technical achievements. Military technology advanced as a result of the creation of intricate fortifications, the invention of sophisticated siege engines, and the inventiveness shown in breaching defenses. These developments had an impact on everything from the construction of contemporary siege weapons employed in trench warfare during World War I to the building of castles. Shifting tides, the rise of gunpowder and beyond. The military was transformed when gunpowder was discovered in the late Middle Ages. Many old siege strategies were outmoded due to the devastating firepower of cannons. The once impassable city walls were now exposed to intense artillery fire. With developments in armored vehicles, aerial bombardments and siege tactics adapted to the intricacies of urban combat, modern warfare is still evolving. Biological warfare, a plague upon you. Even though the idea of using germs to fight back might seem like a recent thought, some historical militaries used sickness as a deadly weapon. One strategy was to launch sick animals over the city walls, such as rats infested with the plague or infected corpses. The plan was not just to instill dread, but also to start fatal disease outbreaks inside the besieged city, therefore undermining its defenses from the inside out. Such strategies may have been used at the siege of Kaffa in 1347, when the Mongols threw plague-ridden bodies over the walls of Genoa, possibly aiding in the spread of the Black Death throughout Europe, according to historical records. Historians continue to disagree on the usefulness of such strategies, as well as their moral implications. Psychological warfare, breaking the spirit. Beyond the devastation of property, siege warfare was an unrelenting attack on the defender's psyche. Expert attackers sowed strife and hopelessness with a range of strategies. Loud sounds, such as continuous trumpeting or drumming, can lower spirits and interfere with sleep. Misleading messages may be yelled over the battlefield or hurled over catapult baskets, offering false optimism or drawing attention to internal discontent within the city. To scare and demoralize the enemy, even gory spectacles such as parading captured prisoners or putting on display the chopped heads of dead defenders were employed. False retreats and subterfuge, the art of deception. Playing mind games was just as important to a successful siege as using raw force. A popular strategy was the use of fake retreats, in which the attackers feigned to terminate the siege before launching an unexpected attack. Under the guise of merchants or even defecting troops, infiltrators and spies might be utilized to gather information about the city's fortifications and cause strife among the defenders. A striking illustration of deceit originates from the 214 BC siege of Syracuse. The Roman commander Marcus Claudius Marcellus gave the order to have enormous mirror shields built. These shields reflected sunlight onto the wooden ships in the harbour, igniting them with a focused beam of fire. This unexpected and seemingly magical attack caught the Syracusans by surprise and helped tip the scales in favour of the Romans. The human cost, beyond the front lines. The art of siege warfare was a cruel one. The number of casualties increased within the besieged city due to illness and famine in addition to fighting. Rapid deterioration of the sanitation situation resulted in outbreaks of dysentery and plague. The psychological cost was also enormous. Both attackers and defenders were deeply scarred by the ongoing danger of violence, the worry of loved ones suffering, and the hopelessness of the situation. A look through the past, a showcase of human ingenuity. An intriguing window into the past can be obtained by researching siege warfare in Antiquity. It highlights the incredible resourcefulness, tenacity, and strategic thinking of these ancient societies in addition to the savagery of combat. These sieges serve as monuments to the human spirit's resilience in the face of difficulty, from the attacker's unwavering will to the defender's fervent resistance. In essence, in a history of shrewdness and tactics, the use of these covert strategies by both attackers and defenders gave siege warfare a degree of mystery and unpredictable nature. They serve as a reminder that battle in Antiquity involved not just the use of force, but also cunning, invention, and the unwavering pursuit of victory through any means required. These clandestine operations left a lasting impact that has influenced everything from modern psychological warfare techniques to medieval espionage. So keep in mind the tales hidden beneath the stones the next time you see a fortified city or a tall castle. The creativity, the despair, and the reverberations of innumerable struggles for existence that have reverberated throughout history. We appreciate you joining us as we explore the history of siege warfare in Antiquity. Stay inquiring and continue discovering the treasures of the past until the next time.